So we're looking at Nehemiah today, and we'll be looking at it with a high level, if you would use these kind of words in work all the time. Helicopter view. A high level, we'll not be looking at the low, nitty-gritty detail of Nehemiah, but we'll be looking a little bit at some of his characteristics, and hopefully I will whet your appetite, and you'll go back home and you'll read all about him. And you can read about Nehemiah in the book called Nehemiah. So you will remember, won't you? But to give a little bit of context and background into Nehemiah, we're going to watch a very, very short video clip. So, cue Kyle.
The book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah finds out through a messenger that his homeland is in ruins. Hundreds of years earlier, the Babylonians destroyed the city of Jerusalem. They tore down the temple and walls that protected the city and dragged the people away into captivity. Years went by with the Babylonians in charge until a powerful king in Persia named Cyrus attacked and defeated the Babylonians. As a result, Cyrus allowed the people of Israel to go back and rebuild their temple. Unfortunately, the Israelites once again turned their back and sinned against God. Meanwhile, King Cyrus dies and a new king is put into power. This new king boldly proclaims that there will never be a wall built around the city of Jerusalem again. It appears the Israelites have missed their window of opportunity. Nehemiah is the cupbearer to this king. Cupbearer meaning prime minister, bodyguard, and second in command. Nehemiah hears of his people's plight and his heart breaks. So he takes a risk and asks the king if he can go back and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. The hand of God was upon Nehemiah, so the king granted his request. After 5 months, Nehemiah travels to Jerusalem to rebuild the wall. When he gets there, he surveys the situation for 3 days and then makes a speech to the people of Jerusalem.
Oh my, what a cliffhanger. We should have some EastEnders music playing. Has left you on the edge. You're just wondering, what did he announce to the people of Jerusalem? Well, you can go home and read it yourselves. It says here in Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 17 and 18, you see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me and what the king had said to me. They replied, let's start rebuilding. So they began let's begin to this good work. So Nehemiah, he gathers this team and they got to work rebuilding the wall. However, they were met with some serious opposition. But do you know what? It did not stop them. They asked God for help, and he helped them, and they kept on rebuilding, because you see, nothing stops God's plans. There's so much that we can learn from Nehemiah, and it definitely does warrant further study. And I would honestly really encourage you to read Nehemiah. It's only 13 chapters long, and they're not really long chapters either. I love this book, and I love Nehemiah's example, and wish that I'd started to try and follow some of his examples a long time ago. Nehemiah, you see, he was just an ordinary guy, and I'm just an ordinary girl. Anybody here just ordinary like me? Yeah, we're just kind of ordinary. But he did something that was extraordinary. A servant who became a transformational leader. And as he led people, he was following God, wasn't he? He was following God's calling for his life. The first thing that Nehemiah does when he hears bad news or he's met with this terrible opposition, significant, serious opposition. I mean, he was attacked from all sides. The first thing he does is pray. He prays. When people were coming, attacking them with spears and bows and all, he got other people round about them to wear their armour and gave them. There were some working with hammers and others with their swords. He prayed and he got God's direction. So often, I don't know, is this just me? But so often, when I hear bad news, or I'm met with something, a wall, an opposition, sometimes the last thing I do is pray. Is it just me? Am I just the only one that's really unholy? Anybody else out there? We so often use prayer as the last resort, sometimes the second resort, but we need to be people, and I'm speaking to myself here, we need to be people that pray first. He did not do anything on his own strength. He brought God into every situation that he faced. His work was accomplished through an active and effective prayer life. What an example. Nehemiah was a leader. He was brave. And he was tactical. He was a true influencer who worked as a team, but yet built a great team. He paid close attention to those around him, and he looked after them. He encouraged people when things were going hard and people were finding things difficult, reminding them that the Lord, who is great and awesome, would fight for their families. Nehemiah was focused on the task that God had given him, and those making fun of him and his team and trying to attack him didn't stop the mission and the vision that God had given him. Nehemiah fixed something that was broken. And that reminds me about Jesus. He's my superhero. God sent Jesus not to rescue a wall like Nehemiah, but to rescue mankind, you and me. Just like that old wall that Nehemiah and his team made new, our lives can be made new by Jesus if we open up our lives to him. He came to rescue us, to build that gap, to bridge that gap between us and God. And if anyone here or watching online would like to know more about what I'm talking about Jesus rescuing us, then myself, Robbie, and some of the team here would love to sit down and have a conversation with you and introduce you to Jesus, because he has made the difference in our lives. Nehemiah saw need. He prayed, and with God's help, he filled that need. I wonder today, what need is God showing you today that you can fill? Is God encouraging you to keep focused on what he has called you to do? And will you be effective, just like Nehemiah? Will you remember and have an effective prayer life like he did? Not to listen to other voices convincing you that that's not a good idea, but like Nehemiah, pray, and with God's help and God's strength. Nehemiah stationed people in groups to protect them. Who's in your group? Who's helping protect you? Just like we have the godparents up here today, being that protection for Dave and Excel Dave. Who's God put in your life round about you to protect you? Perhaps he's asking you to come alongside somebody else to protect them. As a church here at ICF, we've been pressing on a vision we believe that God has given us to show tender love and care to those in the community to which he has placed us. And we've been starting to demonstrate that with superheroes and Baby Bless and other things that we believe God is asking us to do. So for us as a church, will we be like Nehemiah? And as God has given us this vision and direction, will we call on him? Will we ask for his strength and keep on going, demonstrating what we proclaim here, that Jesus is the light, that Jesus is the way, he is the truth, and he is the life. You see, we can change the world by our example, not our opinions. We need to be that example to those around us. We can learn so much from Nehemiah, but the scene is set in chapter 1 with the majority of that chapter as his cry of prayer to God. It started there when we capture that heart of prayer and a prayer life, that personal communion with God. It deepens our relationship with him and strengthens it with him and with those around about us. Nehemiah had that close relationship with God. So our encouragement is to do the same. So Dave and Ruslan, I encourage you to develop a life of prayer that will be caught by your boy. And as you live this life of prayer and you teach XL Dave by your example to develop that effective prayer life. And for XL Dave, extremely beloved, an influencer of the gospel, like Nehemiah, a visionary leader, a prayer warrior, putting everything before the Lord in prayer, interceding on behalf of others, and he will be rewarded for his diligence and his perseverance. Let's keeping on, persevering in prayer, bringing all things to him. Now, I thought it would be a good idea for these weeks of the holidays if I don't know, for those ICF folk, you remember before COVID, can you remember all that far back? And we did a series on Old Testament superheroes, and we gave you all a memory verse each week to learn. Do you remember them? Do you remember them? Well, I thought we'd quite good this time round for these holidays. If we had a bookmark for each week with a different verse on it, and you can learn it, but something practical. I thought we were good. There's lots of visitors today. I'd have lots of really lovely bookmarks to give out to everyone, and they're arriving tomorrow. So I tried. So come back next week, and you'll get 2 bookmarks, not one. But the verse that I put in the bookmark is at the end of Nehemiah chapter 1. And part of Nehemiah's prayer was, Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of this, your servant, and to the prayer of your servants who delight in revering your name. Give your servant success today by granting him favour in the presence of this man. Let's ask the Lord for favour in the presence of what we do for him. Amen. Amen. Amen.